Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Dr. Reshma. I have uploaded few videos helpful for doctors who are preparing for various licensing exams. Today I will be discussing few more topics from radiology. I had already uploaded one video from same topic, so please do check out. So we can start with today's topic. The first topic is achalasia cardia. So I had already uploaded few questions MCQs based on achalasia cardia. So what happens in achalasia cardia is there will be some problems in the lower esophageal sphincter. So this is the lower esophageal sphincter. So in this condition there are some problems that happens in this lower esophageal sphincter. So the patient will be usually presenting with dysphagia, and the dysphagia is usually towards both liquids and solids. So I had already explained everything regarding achalasia cardia in my previous video. So today I will be talking mainly about the radiological findings that we get in achalasia cardia. So usually in esophageal disorders we do barium studies, and in this condition the most important feature is bird's beak appearance. So you can see here. So usually what happens in this condition is the esophagus will be dilated more than the usual size, and we call it as megaesophagus. Megaesophagus. And due to this problem in this lower esophageal sphincter, it looks like bird's beak appearance. So basically this bird's beak appearance we refer to the distal end of esophagus, and totally or the main appearance of esophagus is called as megaesophagus. Again, as I said, usually the patient will be presenting with dysphagia, that is both towards solids and liquids, and they will be having some more features like regurgitation, cough, and there will be some additional features. So that's about achalasia cardia. Again, coming to next one. So next is esophageal spasm. So esophageal spasm means the main presentation is here also the patient will be having dysphagia, but usually the dysphagia will be accompanied with chest pain. So they will be complaining of intermittent chest pain along with dysphagia. Okay, so the chest pain is very important, and this chest pain or this dysphagia, all these features are precipitated by cold liquids. Okay, so that is also important. Again, as I said, in esophageal condition we do barium studies, and here in barium studies there is a peculiar appearance. So this is the appearance. So this appearance is known as corkscrew appearance. Okay, so here it is very easy to remember all the features, and most of the features starts with C. Okay, so to easily remember in esophageal spasm, the one presentation is chest pain. This starts with C. Again, it is precipitated by cold liquid, that also starts with C, and appearance also starts with C. So chest pain, cold liquids, and corkscrew appearance. Again, next topic. So next is duodenal atresia. So duodenal atresia is basically a congenital condition. So what happens is, as the name suggests here, the duodenum will not be developed. Okay, so in utero itself this development of duodenum is affected, and this condition is usually associated with Down syndrome. So that association is very important, because sometimes they can give you like some features of Down syndrome also. So that's very important. Again, here the radiological appearance we get is, the classic sign is known as double bubble appearance. That means since the duodenum is not developed properly, what happens is the food won't be passed like away like that after the duodenal part. So there will be only two bubbles in the abdomen, and the two bubbles are one in stomach and the other one in duodenum. Okay, that's why we call it as double bubble appearance. So this also it is very easy to remember. All the major features starts with D. So duodenal atresia, Down syndrome, and the classic appearance, that is double bubble appearance. Again, usually the children with urinary atresia will be presenting with bilious vomiting within 12 hours. So that's the major presentation. Again, going to next slide. So next is jejunal atresia. So that means the jejunum is not developed properly. So what happens is the baby will be having triple bubble appearance. Okay, that means there will be 3 bubbles, and these 3 bubbles denote one in stomach, the second one in duodenum, and the third one in proximal jejunum. Okay, that's why we call it as triple bubble appearance. So that's about jejunal atresia. Again, going to next slide. So next is acute epiglottitis. So in my previous video, I had already explained in detail about this acute epiglottitis, and this is very important, and this comes under one of the medical emergencies also in children. Again, here the classic appearance is known as thumbprint sign. So thumbprint sign, this is the sign, and this denotes the edematous and enlarged epiglottis, which is the main finding or which is the main cause that affects in the patient or in the children with acute epiglottitis. So as the name suggests, it is acute epiglottitis means it is acute inflammation of epiglottis, and this edematous or inflamed epiglottis is referred as thumbprint sign. Again, as I said, all the features and all I have already discussed. I will be giving the link in the description box. So that's about acute epiglottitis. Again, moving on to next one. So next is croup. So croup also I had already discussed. So croup and acute epiglottitis both actually presents, the presenting feature is almost same because the child will be having stridor. But the major difference is in croup, all the features like stridor, fever, everything happens gradually. But in acute epiglottitis, all these features occurred suddenly. That is the major difference. So here the classic sign we get in X-ray is known as steeple sign. That is also very important. So you can see this is the steeple sign we get in croup. Again, I have a comparison slide for both these conditions, since these conditions are repeatedly asked in exams. So that is thumb sign or thumbprint sign, both are same. So thumbprint sign in acute epiglottitis and steeple sign in croup. So this is really important. Again, moving on to next slide. Spondylitis. So it comes under seronegative spondyloarthropathy. That means here in this condition the rheumatoid factor is negative. That's why we call it as seronegative spondyloarthropathy. Again, the classical appearance we get in ankylosing spondylitis is known as bamboo spine. So before that, I'll tell you what happens in ankylosing spondylitis means the patient will be having back pain, and this back pain will be worse in the morning and it improves with exercise. So that is the usual presentation. And in this condition, usually it affects sacroiliac joints. So in X-rays we can see those inflammation that occurs in sacroiliac joint, and also in the spine there will be fusion of vertebral bodies. So that's what we can see here. All the vertebral bodies will be fused. Okay, that's why we call it as bamboo spine appearance. Okay, so this is the classic appearance in ankylosing spondylitis. So I will be coming with more videos regarding different topics that will be helpful for your licensing exams, because all these conditions are repeatedly asked in like various exams like UAE exams, PLAB. So if you need any topics to be discussed, please do comment in my comment box. So see you in next video. Bye.